Checking in with Josh Byrne as we continue along in quarantine in these strange times. What's going on, Josh?
Nothing much, man. Just finished up a workout here and having some fun, enjoying the day.
How's your health?
Health is great, honestly. I've really taken the time to just decompress and really just trying to get my mobility down. So I feel amazing.
Were you laboring at all before the stoppage? I'm trying to think back. It's almost all a blur for me now.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily like hurting too bad, but it definitely just feels good to. I mean, us as lacrosse players, we basically play year round, whether that's in the NLL or in different leagues as well. So to kind of get a little bit of a break, just to really rest the body, it's definitely nice.
All right. Is that game in January in Colorado the greatest game you've ever played?
Um, I don't know. I don't want to say it's the greatest game I've ever played. I said it's the most fortunate game I've ever played.
Oh yeah.
Because I definitely had a bunch of turnovers during that game and a bunch of opportunities that I should have kind of cashed in on as well, and missed a couple of looks of some of my players that were open or my teammates that were open. So it definitely wasn't like a unreal game. Sometimes the ball just ends up in the net and you feel good about it, but we can move on from that. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, come on. 7 goals, including the game tire, and ultimately Corey Small wins it in overtime. I'm just saying it because watching it online as I was live, it just seemed like you kept finding a different way to like raise the bar. Like as if people were holding up scorecards, to judge the artistic impression of the goal, it just kept getting better. And you're like, how is this happening? So I was just wondering what you were actually feeling in the moment. Obviously, you've kind of described there's no such thing as a perfect game. I think we all understand that, but you had to take some pride in the finishing ability that night.
Yeah, it felt good. One of our best goal scorers, Chris Kluche, was actually out that game, so I knew that I had to kind of step it up a little bit. And so it was one of those things where I was feeling good, something in the air in Colorado. I don't know, it was really good. Yeah, it was nice. It's always nice when you have a guy like Dane too, right? He draws so much attention. Like I think if you watch that tying goal back, they're literally chasing him almost into the corner and letting me come around top. And it's like, well, maybe they should have played that a bit differently. But it's definitely good having that guy on our team.
Well, you mentioned, the beauty of the game is that it is year round, and there's different leagues, and you've played indoor and out. When I see games like that, like it's what makes me love the game, because we've always been treated to guys that can do things like that. That's the beauty of the game.
Yeah.
Who, whether indoor or out, who were the guys that you, as a really young player, and then once you become close to pro and then a pro, could you really admire, respect, and just, eyes wide open when you see these guys play?
Couple of different guys. One of the guys actually for me growing up in New Westminster, British Columbia, was Jordan Hall. I used to watch him play for the Bellies, and he was a stud. Another guy was Dan Dawson. Watching him play for Victoria, the things that he would do was unreal. And then obviously another guy that kind of inspired me to kind of go to college and do things that I wanted to do the college route would be Mark Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
He was unstoppable in college, and so there's so many different guys that I looked up to when I was younger and tried to really model my game after.
When did you start?
I started playing lacrosse when I was about 3 years old. There was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just either my parents played lacrosse. I think just hockey was too expensive at the time, so they threw me in lacrosse. They're like, okay, here it is. But yeah, I was pretty young.
Were you growing up in New West area, or did you just end up there for, indoor summer?
I hopped around a lot when I was younger, from Port Coquitlam to Coquitlam,
Mm-hmm.
but like I spent the majority of my time in New West. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, it's for those that don't know, it is one of the legendary lacrosse outlets, if you will, in Canada. And I mean, it's amazing. I just think generation to generation, how the game continues to evolve. And I think on the, just seeing social media today, do you see what Drew Brees said about lacrosse?
Yeah, it's really
Like
cool.
how, as a player, how great is it? I mean, I think anybody that loves lacrosse knows that it's always inching forward, but maybe never quite at the speed we want to get there. What does it mean when a guy like Drew Brees goes off the way he did about this game?
It's really cool. I think there's such a negative outlook on lacrosse. Like it's crazy. Even like when you see like a clip on Sports Center or something like that, if you go into the comment section, you'll see like, oh, lacrosse, like this is even a sport, blah blah blah. Like these people don't even really understand what the game is. And so when you see a guy of that level praising the game, it's a huge thing for us as a sport, and hopefully it catches some more eyes. It's awesome.
Right. And for him, it's because he's a parent and he sees it through his kids. And you guys, the ones that stay here in Buffalo, you're around that all the time. Have you at least been able to kind of feel a little bit of interest and hopefully future growth in the game just by your dealings with kids in the area?
Yeah, I think you can see it all the way across the country, both in Canada and in the States. It's growing tremendously, especially in Canada. It's starting to become more of a tool where people want to go and get an education. So that's huge. And then in the States, they're being introduced to box lacrosse more and more. Especially, I mean, Buffalo knows that the best. There's more people, I guess, like you can even look at the two expansion teams. I guess Rochester's been there for a bit, but even the last couple of years, you have New York and what is it, Philly?
Philadelphia, yeah.
That also had a long history in lacrosse as well. So I think the interest is starting to grow, and especially in the younger ages, they're starting to really pick up on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think those markets you touched on, New York and Philly, because way back they were staples of the league. It's important to have those moving forward. I think from Canada's standpoint, the addition of Halifax this year has been tremendous. Success, is necessary in a lot of markets. There's no question. Expansion can be tough if you're not winning right away, but I like the direction the league's going in. Beyond all this kind of stuff, what's grabbing your interest these days?
I ended up doing something crazy in quarantine, and I ended up getting a puppy. So her name is Lila. So she's a little mini Aussie. Should I get her in here?
I would think so.
Okay, bring her in here.
You realize this was just like the slow build-up to the actual reason we're doing this interview.
This is exactly the reason. This is what I've been spending most of my time on. This is little Miss Lila right here. She's a little feisty at times. But she's awesome. She's been great. Definitely a lot of my attention. I can never really. What are you doing? What are you doing? I can never really keep my eyes off her.
Right.
Because if I do, next thing I know, she'll be chewing on something, a cord, or definitely an adventurous young one. So
yeah,
I think Dane's a little bit jealous. I think you mentioned that. He's
100%.
Yeah,
and for good reason. I would be too. What's the future growth outlook for Lila?
She'll end up being about 25 pounds. So she's a mini Australian Shepherd.
Nice.
She's going to stay a bit smaller, but she's going to be a good size where we can take her to the beach and throw her in the water and have fun with her, play fetch. She's extremely athletic already. But she's gonna be a fun little staple in my life for a bit. So
were you a dog guy, or was your family? Did you have pets as a kid?
Yeah, so I had a couple pets growing up. A black lab. Her name was Jessie. She was awesome. She was a great dog. But yeah, like I've wanted a dog for the last couple of years, and it's always so hard to find time, and like especially when they're a puppy, you have to put so much time and effort in training them and whatnot. So this was kind of like a perfect opportunity.
Absolutely, good for you. And I know I feel like we're seeing that. We're seeing good stories when it comes to pets, not only locally but across the continent, really, right now, which is good. It is an important and better time for people to transition into something like that. What else? I mean, Dane kind of gave us a little bit of a scoop of what you've been watching and stuff like that. What's the biggest one for you?
Oh, I'm embarrassed to tell and to talk about this, but. Show called Love Island. You ever heard of it?
No. So treat me as a guy who has no clue, and you have one paragraph to set it up.
So basically, it is the show. in Australia where they take all these different singles and they put them into one house and they make them do all these absurd things, and hopefully they try and find love, and they basically have to see who's genuine, who's not, because at the end, what happens is the winning couple, they get one of the couples or one of the people in the couple get 50 grand or 50 grand or 100 grand, something like that. And they have to decide if they want to split it with their mate or take it for themselves. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. Things that they're doing, like the challenges, like they're kissing each other's girls and stuff. I'm like, okay, this is getting out of control. Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure for sure.
Very good,
man. It's crazy.
I have absolutely no follow up on that, which is good, and we're probably pressed for time, so we'll leave it on that note. And if you ever end up on Love Island, oh my God, that'll be a story in Banditland.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
All right, Josh, good to see you, man. Take care.
Yeah, you too, brother. Thank you.